Hello everybody, thanks for tuning in to Motorsport Factory once again. Today we have a 2004 XC90 T6 all-wheel drive. Today we're going to be doing the rear brakes. I wanted to give you my take on doing the rear brakes for this car. I haven't actually took the time to see if anybody else makes a video for this, but I figured I'd just make me a video myself. And because this car here, just so you guys know for your own personal records, this has a pretty big let me turn the light on here, hopefully you can see it. If you can see the lip, it's pretty deep down in there. I already did the driver's side, I'm doing the passenger side now. One of the things you want to make sure you do is proper lifting procedure. Make sure it's lifted up right, and then I got it off the ground. So next thing you want to do is 19mm sockets, and then after we get that off, then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is we want to take this anti-rattle clip off. You can use a flat head. So usually what I do, I'm trying to remember, guys, recording with one hand, it's not always easy trying to do work on the car. So that little pin comes out from there, and then take this piece. There you go, the clip comes out. The other thing I do is I disconnect, move this line out of the way. This should be the either the ABS line or the I forget which one that one was. Yeah, that's one of the lines. So I believe this was the ABS or the wear pad sensor, but more likely ABS, I think it is. Then over here you have these little dust boots for the caliper bolts. You have one up here, and then hopefully you can see it. There's one down there. Let's see if I can reach over. There we go. So you got that. So the inside is the caliper bolt is a 7mm hex, so you want to use that on the top and the bottom. But you also want to be careful doing it because of the fact that you have very little space to really work with. So I lost my 1/4-inch drive ratchet because I let people borrow my tools and never got it back. So I have to kind of improvise in a different way. And I'll show you how I went about it in case you don't have the tool. So you have 7mm on the top, 7mm on the bottom. Then the caliper bracket, which is 14mm there, and then there's the other one. Hopefully you can see it. Trying to get the right lighting for you guys here. It's hard when you can't get the right amount of lighting. So that's it right there, the one my finger's touching. So that's what you want to loosen. I'm going to use freeze off on both of these ends. So how I go about doing it is, I should have had it set up for you guys already, but I didn't. So I'm just going to give you an example. So I crank the bolt loose from here, like that, and then I go all the way down this way, and then crank it this way for the bottom bolt, because I couldn't access it very well with the another way. So just access it from here, boom, and then access the other bolt down here. Hopefully you guys can see, because my camera angle here is not the greatest. I don't know if you guys are getting enough lighting there, but hopefully you guys can see. So once you get that off, and then for me, it's going to be a little bit of a doozy because of the fact that I have to fiddle with this thing. I have to fight with it a lot because the other side had the same issue. So because the customer was complaining about you know, brake squeaking, and obviously you can see, as you can see, it's kind of if you can see that very clear. See that groove? you don't want to ever let it go that far, you know what I'm saying? So once you do that, and I have to spray freeze off in all the holes and around the rim here, and then I have to hammer it out of the way. So I'm going to take this off, and we'll move on to the next step. All right, just to give you a quick glimpse of how I kind of set it up is, oops. This is kind of how I had it set up because, like I said, I have, this is the only way. Trying to get it off. I'm just trying to get it off without. So I should have put it from the bottom side. Let me try doing that. That's why I need to get me a cameraman and a new type of camera setup. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording for a second and reposition the ratchet, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back now. So I had to kind of position it from this other control arm part here. So, and then you just take it off, and then you should be able to see. Oops. I really need to get a new camera. There you go. You should be able to see it spin now. Trying to, I just wish this camera would really focus, but it's not. There you go. So you do that for the top side. And then you want to do that same, reposition the sorry for the camera shake, you know, the usual for the bottom side of it too. So you want to reposition it from the back side. Okay. So I'm gonna try to do this for you guys. So I don't have my, gosh dang it. So I'm trying to get it in there. So, you know, you get the idea, right? So you just position it back here, right? This is how I got it in. So it's easy to access. If you have a 1/4-inch drive, so you just go behind the control arm, get it in, then just crack it loose. Because if you try and doing these things at an angle, the U-joint's just gonna continuously spin, and it's not gonna help. So once you get that off, I'm gonna take these 2 caliper bolts off. The other thing you want to take off is this little clip right here. It actually positions just like this, I believe. Positions on here like this, and something like that. Then you want to take that off because you're going to need that area to compress the piston in. So, alright, so I'm going to stop here, get those caliper bolts off, and then I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm back, and so I got the caliper off because I had to do it without recording because of the fact that, like I said, there's this lip. You can see it on the other side as well. See, get the focus in. So if you can see the lip clearly, that, you know, because the brake pad was jammed up against that lip, so it was difficult to remove. So I had to pry the, push the piston in as much as I could with the pad while the caliper was still sitting here. Try to give you a demonstration of what I was talking about. Let me try to get this back on here. So I was having issues coming. It was just wobbling back and forth. So I had to push the piston in from this end, push it in as much as I could. Then wiggle her out, and then now I got it sitting here. Anybody want to be my cameraman? Would be nice. I live in Clovis, California, so it'd be nice. So now just move the old pad. Pad is still somewhat decent thickness, but due to the rotor issue, we're going to be replacing the pads and the rotors. Usually what I do in my package, so what I'm going to do too, also in my package is, because I offer a basic package which I just remove and replace the pads, And in the premium package, I lubricate the pads and the nuts and bolts and everything like that. That's usually what I do. That's usually what's included in the premium package. But also in the premium package, when you're doing the rotors, I always clean out the. What I'm going to do is clean out the hub and spray some not WD-40, but what I do is get some freeze off. Remember, freeze off is your friend. So I'm going to spray it in the hole. Spray around the hub area. I'm going to need to get some more freeze off. I'm almost out of it. Usually what I do is let it soak for a few minutes, because of the fact that this rotor has been on there for quite some time and have probably never been replaced. This car has about approximately 180,000 miles. But to get back to what I was saying, where's my 14? Give me a sec, guys. I'm just trying to get things ready. Because before, on the other side was actually more stubborn, so I have more access. So now I can get the. So here's a 14 right there, and then the other 14's right here. So you're gonna have an easier time taking it off this way. If you're not having a tough time with the caliper comes off easy. And then these caliper bolts, they're 14 millimeters. So I'm gonna take those off, and then I'm gonna come right back, and then we'll do. Then what we'll do is I'm gonna hammer this off. So what I'm gonna do is, when I get my little hand sledge, I'm gonna hammer it here. I'm gonna hammer different points here, right? And then I'm gonna spin this a little bit. Hammer. Just keep lightly hammering it. It'll eventually come off. You just gotta be patient with it. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. So go ahead and just take your caliper bracket off. If your rotor just comes off that easy, great. If not, if you gotta hammer it, no worries. This thing can take abuse. So I'll be right back. Okay. One more thing I forgot to mention to you guys is this 10 millimeter bolt you want to take off, and it's not always easy trying to record at the same time. So just be careful taking it off. Also be careful putting it back on. Just always, all your nuts and bolts, your caliper bracket bolts, and your little glide pins, make sure you clean them all, okay? That's always important, cleaning them all, and then putting anti-seize compound, which I'm going to show you guys in a little bit. Actually, I have it right here with me. So you just need a little dab. Make sure I just use some freeze off to clean off any oxidation and whatnot. Seems like they use Loctite. I don't really recommend Loctite, because if it gets jammed in there, if too much Loctite gets in there, you might break a bolt and stuff like that. So obviously, now getting back to this, obviously this seems to be a little stuck. Okay, so just to show you guys, the other side was really stubborn. So you just hit it like that, and then you just spin around, see all that crud just nice and crispy. And you just keep spinning it, and do a couple of turns, and then it'll eventually come off. Just spin it as you can, and then just keep hammering it in the back. Hammer in the different points, like I said, and then you'll be good to go. So I'm going to actually just stop recording, so I don't want to keep boring you guys with this. So I'm going to stop recording right now, and then I'm going to show you what my next step is after that. Alright, so we got it finally off. So like I said, you just got to be patient with it, and it'll eventually come off. So now what the next tip is, to prevent that from ever happening again, this is what I do. So what I do is grab some freeze off. So now you can get into nice As you can kind of see how it's melting the rust off. It's just dripping away. Then I use a little wire brush, right? Then I just scrub off all the oxidation, rust, and all that stuff, you know. So just keep doing that, you know, and then just use some brake clean, spray it off. If you want to repeat the steps, you know, a couple of times, 2-3 times, there's nothing wrong with that. It's always good to give it a thorough cleanse. Alright, now my brake clean is over there. Every time I'm trying to grab for something, it's always away from where I'm trying to hands reach. But anyways, so there you go. It's a lot cleaner, right? So, and then my other thing, what I do, people may not agree with the way I'm going about it, but this is just what I do for preventative measures, is I'm going to take some of the anti-seize and then just, you know, rub it around this whole area, and just nice film for it. And then when you're looking at that, just always, you know, take a good look at the rest of your components, your emergency brake, parking brake mechanisms. Make sure there's nothing leaking and stuff like that. You know, look at the pads, the horseshoes, I should say, and make sure. The one thing I forgot to mention is always wear protective gear, like a face mask and an eye shield, eyeglasses, safety glasses, because you know you're going to deal with a lot of debris. You know, any of this debris that gets inside of your lungs, your eyes, can, you know, cause health problems, and you don't want that. All right. So what you want to do is follow the reverse steps after you've put a nice film on it. Put the new rotor in, and make sure when you put the new rotor in, do a little spin test. Make sure it's not dragging up against the caliper brackets and them, because that's what was happening on the other side. So I had to adjust the brake disc to make sure it's lined up right. So that's one of the most important things. You want to make sure that that disc, the brake rotor, is lined up nice. And then when you're tightening it down, because if it's dragging, you know, it might drag up against the caliper or the caliper bracket. Okay, so you can just kind of like lightly hammer it back on if it's not sitting right. That should kind of straighten it out. That's kind of what I did to the other side. Okay, so I'm gonna put the new rotor on, and always make sure I didn't bring the rotor with me. So just so you guys know, the new rotors have usually like this film, this little layer. I forgot what it was called, but I'm sure other people in other channels can clarify. But it's a protective coating to keep it from rusting up. Usually when you get the rotor, you can see it's like an oily kind of film. So what you want to do is take some brake clean, and on the new rotor, you know, spray it down, wash it down on both sides. So on the back side of it, you want to do that too. And then put the rotor on, and maybe try to grab it from here, because you know when your hands get all dirty and stuff like that, you know, you don't want to ruin it. But you can always, you know, spray it down as you put it on. So I'm going to start recording again, and then I'm going to get the new rotor, and then I'll do the reverse procedure. All right, okay. So here we go with the new rotor. So you also want to make sure that you line this up. So the bolt that's going to go back in there, and so what I mean is put a little bit of anti-seize on it. So just follow the reverse procedures, and you'll be good to go. So again, just snug this bolt down. It doesn't need to be nothing fancy. I'm sure there's recommended torque specs, but you know, snugging it down should be good. So what I'm going to do, as you can see, the little film. So you just take some brake clean, spray it down. It's mainly this area you got to spray down anyway, because that's where but I'm just spraying little areas down as I can. So, and then just take a actual clean rag. I don't have a clean rag on me. Then just wipe it down, or you can just let it dry. I already sprayed down the other side. So as you can kind of see, I'll put some anti-seize. So, because the last thing you need is, you know, this rotor getting stuck again. You don't want to go through that same nightmare again, you know. So that's it for putting on this rotor. So I'm going to put the pads on. So what you want to remember, this one pad, you have to kind of fight with this guy, because there's clips on the inside. I'm going to be fighting with this with one hand. Because usually that's what happens when you... I'm going to probably have to stop recording because it's going to be difficult to do it with one hand. So pretty much, you know, take this out because it's just to show you it's kind of clipped in there. So you may need to take a screwdriver and kind of pry it out. But if you can get it out, you can get it out. And then what you'd have to do is take a C-clamp and push this back in. And I'll show you guys how to do that. Alright, so now I got the caliper, the C-clamp on. So like I said, that plastic clip you're going to have to take off because you're going to need that little space to work with. And then, oops, and just, you know, gradually just put it on, you know. Don't force it. As the fluid's going back in, you know, you'll feel it. When you try to force it, it gets too hard. So let the fluid, you know, go, and then do that. And then once you excuse me, once you got the piston back in, and then put your pad in. I already got the caliper bracket back on. So the pad you want to use, I'll just use this. This is the one. This is the old pad. So what we're doing is we're going to take this, and this is going to go in here. So the little clips are going to go inside the piston, not outside, but make sure it's on the inside. Then you have the regular pad here, which is obviously going to go, whoops, just to give you guys an example, it's going to go sit in here like this. Okay, so you're going to settle it in here. I'm going to actually get a clean rag. Actually, I'll probably just use some more brake cleaner. I got a box full of these brake cleaners, so I go through these things a lot. So once you got the piston pushed in all the way until you can't push it in no more, and then you put the brake pad in, and then you put your caliper back on the same way you took it off, and then you put the little pins in, your little screw pins, and I put anti-seize on the whole pretty much thing, so you know, in case, you know, if it has to glide, so it's not getting stuck. So I'm going to finish up pushing the piston and putting on the pads, and then we'll be good to go. The other thing I forgot to mention is get some brake lubricant. So you make sure that you can get a package of these, or you can get a bottle, and then you just put it on the contact points where as you can see, this is where it's gonna be making contact on the pad. So on this side, I already put it on. I put it kind of all around, kind of make a ring around the little clip parts. Give you an example here. So what I did was I kind of put it all around here just to make sure. So I usually kind of, I usually kind of just like right around here, and then like right around here. I kind of give it a wide range, so this will prevent the brakes from squeaking. So you don't want that to happen, right? So I'm going to put this pad on so it fits nice and snug. So I'm going to do a little spin test here. It's a little hard. Actually, I should have done it with what I'm checking for as I'm spinning it is making sure it's not going to be rubbing up against this caliper bracket, because you know, there's not very much room. So That's why I had to, you make sure what I do is take your little hammer, sledgehammer, kind of tap on it and, you know, push it in as far as you can get it to go. And that should help the trick. So I'm going to lubricate the pad, put this on, put the caliper back on, put the bolts back on, and then I want to put the wheel back on. And when I do put the wheel on, I kind of give it a spin test too, to make sure nothing's dragging on the wheel, because it was doing that to me on the other side, so I had to make sure that nothing was dragging. So that's one of the things you want to make sure, that when you're doing that nothing drags. Otherwise, if it does, this caliper will be scratching up this rotor and you can cause more damage and have more problems. And then after I'm done putting the wheel on, I'm going to give it a spin, give it a test drive. One of the key elements you want to know is when you're putting on new rotors and new pads, you know, go easy on it at first. You know, for the first 50 miles, some people say 25. If you got to brake on it as an emergency, you know, you got to do what you got to do. But just go easy on them, you know, so just to give the break-in process. So you'll be good after that. So I'm going to finish up here, and then I'll be right back. All right, guys, we are pretty much done. So it's getting a little late in the afternoon here. So the last couple things you have to remember: these covers you want to put on. You want to put that one on the other, and make sure you put this back on. I'm going to do that in a minute, but just to give you a clarity. Then this little clip is going to go on right there, and then the wire goes here, and this goes here. Okay, so I'm going to push that in after, when I'm done recording. It's hard to do two things at once here. Alright, so that pretty much covers this. And then the last thing you need, make sure you put this anti-rattle clip back on, guys, because, you know, you're going to have issues. So the technique I have is I get this side, oops, pushed in. It's a little hard. So there's going to be, I'll show you how I go about doing it. So how I'm going to go about doing it, I'm going to have a plier, needle nose plier, trying to kind of have to jiggle it in a little, and then keep that plier forcing it in, because I'm going to use a flathead screwdriver to push this to the back here, just like how this bottom one is. Okay. Sorry for this camera again. This, you know, it's not got the. I'm trying to invest into a, you know, those DJI Osmosis something. It's one of those kind of cameras where this phone will end up becoming a monitor, and then the camera will work the way I want it to. So if anybody wants to give me one, that'd be nice too. But so just like how this is, you're going to do the same thing, but how I go about doing it, because sometimes it pops right back out. So this is going to, I'm going to try to push it here, and try to, so it'll stick after that. So once we're done doing that, then put the wheel back on and tighten the wheel down to torque specs. Double check everything, clean whatever you want to clean off real quick. And the other thing I want to show you is, as you're doing the brake, each wheel, what I usually do is monitor the brake fluid. So it's like, usually it's kind of right up out there. So what I do is, once I'm done with one wheel, I come to the passenger side, the driver's, hit the brake pedal, push it in so it can kind of get it to come back down. Then I go to the next wheel, I do the same thing after I'm done with that wheel. And then so, because if we keep pushing it up without pressing down on the brake pedal, what'll happen is fluid's going to come out of the reservoir, and you don't want it to be spilling all over the place. The last thing you want to do is be cleaning that up. And okay, I was just changing the air filter. Put that clip back on. Okay guys, so if you're going to do all 4 wheels, make sure after you're done with 1 wheel, this is just the way I go about doing it, and then press down on the brake pedal to bring the fluid back down. If you notice also, if it's still coming too high, what I use is there's a little brake fluid syringe you can do if you can find. Let me actually go get it. Follow me. Yes, this is the good old carport, which I'm going to put the lift in, hopefully, in my good old Integra that I'm going to be working on. You can get this. Here's the syringe, and it has like a little rubber piece that comes on the end, and I just put it in the reservoir after I take the cap off, and then just pull on the syringe, suck some of the fluid out, and you'll be good to go after that. So when you take the cap off, put the syringe in, pull on it, take out as much as you can, and if you do end up becoming too low, just put some brake fluid in, So after that, you're pretty much done. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to comment for the rear brakes. If you're having a tough time with it, it's going to be tough, a little bit. But if you use what I used, like, the U-joints and the 1/4-inch extensions, if you have a 1/4-inch set, you'll be good. But in my case, I didn't have a 1/4-inch set. And so it made it really difficult, okay? So I'm going to finish up tightening this stuff down. I'm going to give you my final comments on it and give it a test drive. And we should be pretty much done with it. Alright guys, so I'll be right back in a few minutes. Alright guys, we're back and officially done with the XC90. And the customer's happy with the car, and the customer was concerned about having to push the brake pedal in too far in, and so after I replaced the rotors and the pads, he felt happier. It was braking a lot better. It's also again, he's not having to push in too much. So there are plenty of videos out there on replacing the rear discs on this XC90, but I wanted to make my own video to kind of give you my angle on it and what I do, because like I said, this rotor was rusted up in there too hard, so I spent some time hammering it. So just to recap on a few things, never let this lip get in there. If you can feel that lip, it's a pretty thick lip right here. This is probably almost 1/8 of an inch, but the point is, you don't want it to get too far to a point where you're having to fight with the caliper, right? So in my case, I was fighting with the caliper, and to get it off, because remember, the piston was pushed in too far, and the pad was rubbing up against on this lip. So I had to, push the caliper, the piston, as far as I can to kind of get some wiggle room to slide it off. But you don't want to do that, because you're going to be fighting with this car for a couple of hours. And that's kind of what I was doing with the driver's side. The passenger side was a lot easier. But so one of the rules of thumb I personally have is that when you change the pad first time, you can go on the rotors one time, but the second time you change the pad, you should change the rotors, because the rotors can only be turned and resurfaced so many times. But in this case, I really didn't want to waste my time measuring the thickness and measuring the thickness here and all that stuff, and resurfacing it and remeasuring it again. So even on this side, if you can see, it's really uneven. It's gone down more here, and it's a little more even here. But as you can see, the ridges. Let me turn this light off. I don't think you need the light. But see, it's very uneven if you look at it. The inside seems okay, but the fact that you just don't want to, you know. So it's actually shipping off right about here. So like I said, when you're one more thing I wanted to mention is when you're in the back getting those caliper bracket bolts on. Let's say the way when I said to go in the from the back, go downward. That's if in the case that you can't get the caliper off. So if you can get the caliper off, you can normally get to the caliper bracket bolts with ease. And like I said, just spray some freeze off. Actually, I was gonna go get some freeze off today, and I totally forgot. But spray freeze off through the holes and spin it around. Wait a few minutes, all the holes you can, and in the hub and everything like that, and you should be good to go. And then just hammer it. Get the 5-pound sledge and then spin it around, hammer, spin around. It'll eventually come off, and so don't be scared. And once you're done doing that, and then clean the hub like I did, use some freeze off. I love using freeze off, man. I mean, I can't recommend anything else. I am going to do a comparison test and a comparison video possibly when I do get some time. I want to try the WD-40's rust prevention one that they have. I actually want to see how theirs work compared to freeze off, and I'll try to make a video of that too when I get a chance. And so yeah, that's pretty much it, you know. So yeah, just clean the hub, scrub it down with wire wheel, and just put some anti-seize, or if you I'm trying to think of what else there is. I think you can probably just use some bearing grease and just use those constant velocity bearing grease. That's probably a better bet to do, but all I had was anti-seize compound, so so it can prevent the rotor from ever getting stuck again, because you don't want to be fighting with it forever, you know what I'm saying? So okay guys, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, you're having a tough time with something, just give me a buzz. Just you can email me or just comment on the comment section below, and I'll try to help you as best as I can. I'm also gonna be making do the front ones for you guys, because I've seen some videos that it doesn't really give you a clear description as far as how to take the anti-rattle clip off. I mean, because the video is only showing it from kind of a distance, but I want to show you, give it up close on what to look for when you're taking the anti-rattle clips off on the front rotors. Front rotors is going to be a lot easier to do. I was trying to do the front rotors on that car too, but unfortunately my supplier gave me the wrong rotors. But I went and returned them, got me the right ones, and I'm going to continue on that project as soon as I can. All right, so thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate, for those of you who have subscribed to my channel, really appreciate it, for showing your support. And if you guys have any videos, requests that you want to see, that go ahead and comment on this comment section, or you can just email me, and I'll try to do my best to make that video. All right, guys, so I will see you guys next time in my next video, and thanks for tuning in to Motorsport Factory. See you guys later.